السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. I want to sincerely begin by thanking all of you for coming this early. I was absolutely confident that I'm going to give a lecture in front of 9 people. I was so certain of that. And because of that, I just prepared this week lecture. And now you guys showed up and I don't know what to do with this lecture. I'm just joking. Jazakumullah khairan, everybody. So the title of the lecture is From Iqra to Maintaining a Quranic Anchor in Modern Chaos. So, let's look at what happens to someone who recites the Qur'an on a daily basis. That means every day they're reminded of Al-Jannah, they hear its description, they're reminded of the hellfire, they're reminded that the shaitan is lying in wait for you, that the dunya is going to pull you towards it, and you'll be reminded every day of how certain people were saved, that they were able to defeat the shaitan, able to defeat their nafs, their desires, how they made it and passed the test. You'll hear every day the stories of the prophets and the difficulties that they encountered and their relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. You'll be reminded every day of the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal and the severity of His punishment. So that would be your daily dose. Every day you're reminded of these amazing things. What is interesting, in Surah Al-Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of a complaint that the disbelievers had against the Qur'an. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ عَلَيْهِ الْقُرْآنُ جُمْلَةً وَاحِدَةً. So those who disbelieved, they said, why wasn't this Qur'an sent down all at once? Not bit by bit, but all at once. First of all, the truth is, it's none of your business. That's the truth. It comes down all at once, in quarters and halves. You don't believe in it anyways. But put that aside. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds in this way. كَذَلِكَ لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, it was revealed in that way so that we may strengthen your fu'ad. Fu'ad is heart. So that we can strengthen your heart. So Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah comments saying that to make your heart firm, patient and tranquil. So the Qur'an is revealed gradually over 23 years so that the Prophet ﷺ will receive continuous reassurance, continuous support, respond to events as they occurred, and so that the believers also could absorb and implement its guidance step by step, not just one lump sum but piecemeal. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah says Allah revealed it in parts according to incidents to strengthen the Prophet ﷺ's heart and to make him constantly in touch with divine revelation. One more time. To strengthen the heart of the Prophet ﷺ and to make him constantly in touch with divine revelation. If that's about the Prophet ﷺ, what about us? If doses of the Qur'an strengthen the heart of the Prophet ﷺ, what will it do for our hearts? If it's to keep the Prophet ﷺ, who's always in contact with Allah Azza wa Jal, to keep him constantly in touch with the revelation, what would it do for us? And that's why you find in general, the Muslims were completely occupied with just money, business ideas, how to become a millionaire. And I wish it was just millionaire. Billionaire now. People aspire to become billionaires. And young men, they're having long discussions about what color highlights to put in their hair. This is what's concerning us now. Makeup and coffee, 4 pumps of vanilla, and they only gave me 3, and this is like the end of the world now. I personally believe there is nothing in the world that's a reset button like the Qur'an. It just brings you back to where you should be. Resets you and resets your mind and your heart like nothing else in this world. And I'll tell you again on a personal level, nothing moves me personally than the statements of great scholars on their deathbed and how they wish they would have spent more time with the Qur'an. Because if it was just someone who, they turned their back to Islam and to the Qur'an, and then on their deathbed they regretted not spending more time with the Qur'an. It makes sense. But this is a scholar, someone who understood the Qur'an and its meanings, and who understood Islam and knowledge, and reaped the benefits of learning and teaching Islam to others. Let's look at some examples. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, we all know Imam Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah, one of the great scholars. Later on he writes and he reflects in his later years, he says, ندمت على تضييع أوقات في غير القرآن. ندمت على تضييع أوقات على غير القرآن. He says, في غير القرآن. I regret the time I wasted in anything other than the Qur'an. So Ibn al-Jawzi, he wasted time. So what did he do? Look at his books, look at his material. He's calling it a waste in comparison to the Qur'an. I mean, what a wake-up call for us. A scholar who spent his life only in good, and he's saying, I regret all the time I wasted in anything besides the Qur'an. So when he's older, he calls everything else a waste of time. Okay, Imam al-Hasan al-Basri. Imam al-Hasan al-Basri, I heard one of the scholars say that he could very well be the greatest Muslim scholar that ever lived. Imam al-Hasan al-Basri was no joke. So he tells his students, when death approached him, they told him, advise us, give us some advice. He said, alaykum bi kitabillah, which means hold fast to the book of Allah. And then he says, fihi najah, in it is salvation. فلو أني أعيد شبابي ما شغلت نفسي إلا به. He says, if I could rewind my youth, go back to being a young man. So now this is someone who learned so much, did so much, and towards the end of his life, if he could reset his life, what would he do? Right? If you could reset your life, start over from year one, what would you do? Oh, I would buy stocks in Apple and Tesla. I'd be a billionaire. I would start Amazon before Jeff Bezos. That's it. He said, if I could reset my life, I would just busy myself with the Qur'an and nothing else. Coming from one of the greatest scholars in history. What does that say to us? You want to learn from people's experiences, right? Another one of the great scholars, Abu Sulaiman ad-Darani rahimahullah. He says, ما ندمت على شيء ندمي على ساعة لم أذكر الله فيها أو أتلو كتابه. So he says, I have never regretted anything in my whole life as much as an hour where I did not mention Allah Azza wa Jal or recite His book. So we're not talking about people who turn their backs on their religion and then on their deathbed regretted not spending more time with the Qur'an. We're talking about scholars who spent time with the Qur'an and they regret not spending their entire time with the Qur'an. I don't know. That gets me. Who else got by that? Who else got gotten by that? Yeah? I think it's crazy. Okay. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, قُلْ آمِنُوا بِهِ أَوْ لَا تُؤْمِنُوا. يعني, Ibn Kathir says this is a verse, the statement of dignity and confidence that the truth of the Quran doesn't depend on whether disbelievers believe in it or not. And if everyone on the planet believed in the Quran, it would not add to the greatness of the Quran. I remember in a masjid I was in Ramadan, and there's this old man and he's just always sitting, always reciting the Quran. In the beginning, I used to look at him and say, MashaAllah, look at his dedication. Look at how he's giving his time to his Lord. And then later on, I looked at him in a completely different way. I would say, look at what Allah Azza wa Jalla is doing for him. Allah kept him busy with the Quran. And he's benefiting. Allah doesn't benefit when you recite the Quran. He was benefiting. He was growing. He was developing. But the problem is that we've been conditioned and programmed to think only in terms of practical effects. And if I sit and read the Quran for 2 hours, I don't see the effect. I still have problems. Nothing changed. I take a class on financial management and I'm better with my finances instantly, right? So I want to see the practical effects. I recite the Quran, I don't really speak Arabic, in 1 hour, and then what happened? I don't even understand what I recited. Or fun and entertaining. So I read the Quran, it wasn't fun, it wasn't entertaining, because I'm used to that now. just read. I don't know what I'm saying. Well, there are two things about that. Number one, really, in our day and age, is there an excuse to not understand what Allah is saying in the Qur'an? Wallah, there is no excuse. No matter what language you speak, where you live, there is no excuse to not understand the Qur'an. So it's not really an excuse. But just read. In this lecture, I'm not going to talk about how to contemplate the Qur'an. I just want us for our eyes to fall on the pages of the Mus'haf every single day. Even if it's for a short period of time. That's the default, by the way. That's the default behavior of the believers. Their eyes fall upon the pages of the Mus'haf every single day. That's it. Well, we need to contemplate. That's another step, ya Habibi. Right now, we just want this. You don't take it to the next level. Take it to the first level first. Let's start with the first thing. You know, the scholar said, when you love someone, you love their speech. We all say we love Allah Azza wa Jal. How much do we love His speech? True story. This guy, he was engaged to a girl. So obviously he loved her, right? So this is a true story. He spoke to her from Maghrib until Dhuhr the next day. Well, you guys are not shocked, huh? That's like normal, huh? Like, yeah, I talk to my wife like that all the time. What do you talk about for that long? They finished like, what? Do you like salt? I love salt. How's about pepper? Pepper is good. What do you talk about? From Maghrib all the way till Dhuhr the next day. But it's what the scholar said. When you love someone, you love their speech. You love Allah Azza wa Jal. The Quran doesn't have to be entertaining, doesn't have to have deep meanings. Just love the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal. The problem is that we belittle the Quran so much. You know, this guy, they brought me this person with a problem, and I had to beg him to come talk to me because he said the Imam's just going to tell me to read the Quran. Yeah, so that's not a useful thing. The Imam's just going to say read the Quran. So I made sure after I talked to him and gave him advice to tell him to read the Quran because it's the right answer. I'm not going to cancel it because you don't want to hear it. If I tell you, what's 1 + 1? But you can't say 2. I know what you're thinking. 3 minus, nah, 2. I'll tell you the right answer. I don't accept the premise of your argument that you can't give me the right answer. No, of course I can give you the right answer. So I told him, because it's the right answer, read the Quran. But it's just the way we look at the Quran. I was teaching a class, this was in Sweden, so nobody thinks it's Houston or anything. And every time I explained something, this girl would just yell out, I don't agree with that. Okay. You don't agree? What do you know? What do you know you don't agree with that? You didn't even know this concept existed 20 seconds ago. And now all of a sudden you don't agree with it? I want to end with this hadith. It's really powerful. It's mentioned by Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, and it's also mentioned in Sunan ibn Majah. Imam al-Albani said it's an authentic, he declared it sahih. Listen to this hadith and it'll just give you a sense of the waste we're in for the most part is what I'm trying to say. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدنيا ملعونة. The world is cursed. And al-la'n, al-curse, is to be deprived or sent away from mercy. So it's saying the curse here is deprivation of mercy. الدنيا ملعونة. ملعون ما فيها. And everyone and everything in it is cursed. إلا ذكر الله وما والاه. Except for the mention of Allah and everything related to that. وعالما ومتعلم. And a scholar and someone who's in the process of seeking knowledge. What do you say? How do you feel about that? And when I heard this hadith, I was blown away. Like, I was a teenager, I heard this, I was like, this is powerful. The point is, look how powerful that is. Insanely powerful. That the world is cursed and everything in it is cursed except the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal and what is related to it. And the scholar and the student of knowledge, or someone who's seeking knowledge. So I didn't want to talk about how to contemplate the Qur'an and different programs where you can learn the root words of Arabic and all that. We just want the ummah to open and let their eyes fall on the pages of the Qur'an. And then you come up here and you give the lecture about how that changed your life. Jazakumullah khairan for listening attentively. Sallallahu barak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.